Let's bring into the conversation former White House Director of Communications to President Obama, Jennifer Palmieri. She's co-host of Showtime's The Circus. Pulitzer Prize-winning associate editor of The Washington Post, Bob Woodward. Congressional investigations reporter for The Washington Post, Jackie Alamany. And NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian. Jonathan Lemire, the Reverend Al Sharpton, still with us as well. A great panel assembled for this conversation. And Bob Woodward, I will begin with you. You've seen an awful lot in your time as a reporter, but you've never seen this because no one has. A former president of the United States indicted. We'll learn what the charges are against him. That is a sealed indictment, so we don't know what the case is just yet. But just your reaction to the simple fact of a president being indicted.
Well, it's extraordinary, but I think we have to get a perspective on this. As they say, who has the A shares here? And that is the special counsel. That they have the authority and access to the FBI, to federal grand juries. This is going to take months, if not a year, to resolve all of the investigations that are going on. And this is the real threat, particularly the January 6th insurrection. There is evidence on the record, an abundance of evidence that Trump incited this, supported this. This was not just a crime, it was a crime against the Constitution and the rule of law. I think Jack Smith's prosecutors take that and other matters seriously. And as we've seen, the judges in the local district court here, in a very, very important way, have ruled that the people like former Vice President Pence and aides to Trump are going to have to testify on critical issues. So that's the big deal. But this is a big deal in itself. And I guess if you're trying to look at what happened here, Donald Trump created a culture of political hate. And that's what's driven all of this. As he said, he thinks everything is mine, that only he knows these things. And so it's going to be not just a criminal investigation, but a look at who Trump is and what he meant to the country when he was president and what it would mean to the country if he was elected again.
We're past the top of the 8 o'clock hour on the East Coast, Central Time Zone. A lot of people just tuning in, waking up. It's 7 o'clock there, obviously 5 o'clock out on the West Coast for a huge day in news, a follow-up on the indictments that came out yesterday. And Jen, as we've been saying this morning, a line's been crossed here. And it's a line that causes me grave concerns. For the first time, we've indicted a former president, but that's balanced against the grave concern of us allowing Americans to believe that anyone, based on their position, is above the law. And I suspect...
If a crime has been committed.
If the crime's been committed. I suspect, you look at Georgia, you look at Jack Smith's investigations, these are indictments. You look at the Mar-a-Lago obstruction case, these are indictments that are most likely going to continue to come. And it's going to come to a man who began his political career by pushing his followers to chant "lock her up" and to mock and ridicule the use of the Fifth Amendment, that constitutional right. And yet he says it's what the mob did. And yet that's how he spent the past year. And now it's Donald Trump who actually is the first ex-president to be indicted.
Ironies abound, as always, with him. And, you know, it feels a little perilous this morning. You understand that history's been made. We're definitely, we are definitely going into uncharted territories. I think voters had their say in 20. They rejected him. Courts had their say in 20, where judges had to rule on a lot of, false election fraud claims. They had their say, and now juries are going to have their say. It's important to remember that this wasn't just Alvin Bragg, that brought charges against Donald Trump. A majority of jurors, we don't know how many yet, voted to indict him. That likely same thing will play out in Atlanta. If the special counsel moves forward in D.C., that will play out in D.C. These are actual American citizens that are weighing in now. So the democracy that's another front of the democracy that Donald Trump is going to test. And you hope that citizens and juries and then citizens in the country are going to be able to handle this. I mean, he's testing us at all levels, and this is going to be a big one when you consider, we're going to have multiple trials going on, likely, in a presidential campaign. Trump as a defendant in courtrooms. That case down in Atlanta, I was in Atlanta this week, they're going to indict a lot of people. They're likely to indict what the recommendations were. We know we're at least a dozen people. Names we know, probably. This is like this next 18 months between now and the presidential election are going to be really treacherous.
Yeah.